The Chinese People's Liberation Army's 8th 72nd Group Army attempted a risky tactic. They packed 6 rappel ropes onto an Mi-17 helicopter, aiming to have more soldiers descend simultaneously to reduce exposure time. However, this overloaded the helicopter, making it hard to maintain balance and almost caused the ropes to tangle. Military experts were even more shocked to see over 10 armed helicopters flying in dense formation during an exercise. Against modern air defense systems, a single round could turn the entire formation into fireballs. This was part of a training report aired by CCTV's military channel. The report was likely intended to showcase this elite unit, potentially involved in future Taiwan operations. Instead, defense analysts quickly highlighted several technical and tactical flaws that could prove deadly in real combat. In contrast, the American Night Stalker Special Operations Squadron uses a safer approach. They deploy multiple helicopters, each with only 2 or 3 ropes, and keep 50 to 100 meters of distance between landing points, aligning with the modern air assault tactic of spread-out, multi-point assault. Issues in the 72nd Group's training continues to surface. During a tank retreat exercise, a tank's track broke muddy terrain, and without proper equipment, the crew was left helpless. The stranded tank blocked a narrow passage, bringing the entire convoy to a standstill. In a nighttime maneuver, a company's commander illuminated command device ran out of battery, leaving the entire armored convoy without guidance in the dark. These incidents were initially reported by a columnist named The Winds Rise Again on Chinese social media Douyin. The 72nd Group's outdated tactics are especially evident in their night vision technology. NATO's Leopard 2 tanks, for instance, use advanced color infrared imaging at night, while the PLA still relies on outdated black and white infrared imaging. In modern warfare, night combat capability can be a decisive factor. Considering how the Chinese government emphasizes the PLA's modernized image in its publicity, the technical gaps in such crucial combat areas raise doubts about the true extent of its capabilities. Moreover, issues in strategic combat equipment are equally concerning. Their primitive communication systems stand out. A soldier named Zhou Chen explained, "The vehicle makes so much noise when boarding a ship that it disrupts command and control, leaving us to rely on basic hand signals and flags." A former Marine scoffed at this, noting that modern amphibious operations have long used waterproof audio communication and digital command systems. Relying on hand signals and flags is not only inefficient, but also completely ineffective at night or in bad weather. The process of landing vehicles onto ships is also far from modern standards. It relies on manual distance judgments, lacking any advanced range finding or automatic guidance systems. The short landing ramps, basic chain restraint methods, and improper reinforcement points reveal a serious lag in their amphibious equipment. After boarding, armored vehicles are haphazardly secured with chains around the tracks and wheels. This method cannot keep them stable in rough seas. Modern amphibious vessels use hydraulic clamps or specialized locking systems for securement. Even the armored vehicle's water exit procedure has severe issues. They descend directly into the water through a steep hatch with no buffering design or speed control mechanisms. This high-speed entry into the water could lead to vehicle loss of control and endanger personnel in rough seas. The issues exposed here starkly contrast with the 72nd Group Army's role as China's main force for a potential operation against Taiwan. If even the basics of amphibious equipment technology and combat procedures are this outdated, it raises deep concerns about the unit's survivability when facing a modernized opponent. Beyond their questionable combat capabilities, the unit appears more focused on high-performance drills. In one set of photos showing an anti-air missile deployment, multiple HQ-9 missile launchers are seen with launch tubes fully elevated, ready to fire. Yet, soldiers casually stroll around the launchers, completely disregarding the danger of blast waves, which could knock personnel down. A retired missile officer immediately recognized this as a setup. He said this was entirely staged for photos. Another image shows a rocket launch at dusk or dawn, leaving a thick smoke trail against a vibrant gradient of deep blue and orange sky, a visually striking scene. However, signs of editing are evident. The sky's colors are unusually saturated, especially the contrast between orange and blue. The smoke trail remains uniform and straight, lacking the natural dispersion from atmospheric winds, suggesting it might have been enhanced. The flames behind the rocket appear excessively bright, almost as intense as the sun, possibly edited for effect. After seeing these photos, it's hard not to think that the 72nd Group Army's photographers are skilled, but what they capture feels more like an artistic portfolio than genuine military drills. In contrast to these polished images, the actual state of the 72nd Group Army's equipment maintenance is concerning. At a Z-10 attack helicopter maintenance site, technicians were seen standing on the aircraft without any safety gear. They wore no protective gloves or goggles and conducted repairs on the rotor system outdoors. This setup easily exposes the helicopter's sensitive components to dust, moisture, oils, and sweat, all of which can compromise flight safety. At least 3 technicians worked on a single helicopter, crowding each other and increasing the risk of skipped or incorrect procedures. Rotor system maintenance requires highly precise torque control and adjustment, which should be done with specialized tools. Yet, there was no sign of torque wrenches or precision measuring instruments. There was also no quality control system in place, as there were no maintenance records or checks by supervising personnel. The problems with maintenance extend to the armored units as well. In modern militaries, maintenance isn't reactive but proactive, with routine inspections, servicing, and replacements to prevent malfunctions. But critical components like tracks and transmission systems require thorough inspections to ensure reliability in tough terrains. Yet, despite knowing the strain of an exercise in muddy, narrow terrain, the 72nd Group Army lacked even basic spare parts. This isn't just a matter of poor daily maintenance, insufficient pre-exercise checks, or weak logistical support. It reveals a lack of basic understanding among commanders about the pressure equipment faces in complex terrains. The lack of awareness in equipment maintenance is even more evident in the handling of light weaponry. Recently, a video surfaced online showing PLA soldiers pouring water directly into a heated machine gun barrel during live fire exercises. Technically, a gun's barrel temperature can reach 300 to 400 degrees Celsius after continuous firing. Pouring cold water directly on it causes rapid contraction of the metal, leading to micro cracks on the inner barrel surface. After one exercise, an inspection revealed over 47 micro cracks in a heavy machine gun barrel. These cracks not only affected shooting accuracy, but could also cause the barrel to fracture under intense use. The U.S. military's F-240 machine gun has a quick-change barrel system, allowing operators to swap barrels in under 30 seconds with a simple lock mechanism. Meanwhile, the British Special Forces use a machine gun model with an innovative liquid cooling system, allowing continuous firing through a special coolant. A former PLA veteran revealed that their annual weapons maintenance training is often a formality, and even the danger zone for gun barrel overheating isn't taught. Junior officers lack basic knowledge on the weapon's operating limits. In a 2022 mountain exercise, a heavy armored brigade in the PLA reported several machine guns rendered unusable due to overheating, caused by the gunners' inability to manage their firing tempo. In similar terrain, Singapore's army uses a high-temperature weapon handling course, training soldiers in cooling techniques and barrel temperature management. In real combat, attempting to cool guns with water could be deadly. Standing up to pour water could expose the soldier's position and waste precious time needed for fire support. A retired U.S. instructor remarked, "Seeing this approach on a modern battlefield is hard to believe. It doesn't fit the image of a modern military." Such fundamental issues raise serious concerns. Can the 72nd Group Army, designated as the main force for a potential Taiwan operation, truly fulfill its role? This large formation consists of 6 combined arms brigades, along with an air assault brigade, special operations brigade, artillery brigade, air defense brigade, chemical defense brigade, and logistics support brigade, 12 brigades and 80,000 troops in total. Yet it reveals significant gaps in basic military standards. Ironically, its claimed historical heritage also falls apart under scrutiny. Official Chinese media often hint that the 72nd Group Army inherits the legacy of the National Revolutionary Army's 72nd Corps, emphasizing its participation in key battles against Japan, like the Battle of Shanghai. However, the reality is that the original 72nd Corps belonged to the Nationalist Army, with no connection to the Communist forces. When the Communist regime took over in 1949, they simply adopted the number. This approach is reminiscent of what the U.S. military calls stolen valor. Honors earned by others in battle are quietly claimed as one's own. Today, the 72nd Group Army may be equipped with modern weapons and assigned an important mission for a Taiwan operation, yet its true state contrasts sharply with the image portrayed in propaganda. Just as its historical claims don't hold up, its actual capabilities may fall short of the promotion. As one military analyst noted, when looking at the Chinese military, don't be misled by the propaganda, judge by its battlefield performance. These issues have surfaced even during carefully prepared exercises. If placed in real combat, facing enemy interference and attack, this loosely managed and poorly maintained unit might struggle even more. The systemic deficiencies of the 72nd Group Army highlight a vast gap between its capabilities and those of a truly modernized military force. The Chinese military seems to focus heavily on logistics, especially cooking equipment. State media hails the PLA's new high-altitude cooking truck as a major technological breakthrough. Costing millions, this truck can operate at elevations of 4,500 meters and in temperatures as low as -46 Celsius, even cooking meals while on the move. A proud squad leader demonstrated its efficiency, stating,
"In 90 minutes, we can prepare a hot meal with 4 dishes and a soup for 100 soldiers and deliver it up to 30 kilometers away."
The dining standards are surprisingly lavish. A military spouse posted on social media about a menu resembling that of a high-end hotel: crispy pork, braised fathead fish with tofu, eel, and an abundance of fruit. A driver went on to say,
"With the new cooking truck for support, we no longer have to bring dry rations on missions. The food variety is better, and it tastes great too."
This focus on comfort has seemingly spoiled some soldiers. During a drill, when the supply line was cut off, they even requested to return to camp for their meals rather than eat emergency rations. Despite such luxurious dining, the conditions for essential equipment at the unit level are troubling. From officers to NCOs, those in charge of logistics often seem to hold an inexplicable sense of privilege, withholding basic supplies meant for soldiers. Some soldiers have even reported needing to buy their own uniforms because they weren't issued on time. One soldier shared a story about a decontamination vehicle, essentially a mobile shower unit sent to a high-altitude post where freezing conditions made it difficult to even wash one's feet without cramping. The vehicle was there, but the soldiers weren't allowed to use it. They reported that advanced equipment, seen only on television, remained unused and still in its packaging at the warehouse, leaving frontline soldiers to repair delicate machinery with basic tools. A simple belt provided by the Army snapped easily, especially during grappling and wrestling drills, breaking with any significant force. Yet, if soldiers bought a sturdier belt themselves, they'd be forced to replace it with the flimsy standard issue at their own expense. This misallocation of resources raises serious questions. While the U.S. military emphasizes speed, mobility, and develops new field rations, China focuses on creating high-altitude cooking trucks, yet lacks the essential tools needed for field repairs in combat zones. The so-called elite 72nd Group Army appears to excel more in culinary displays than in combat readiness.